right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're at our next Infinite Green Partner Perspectives with our good friends at 8x8, Tory Hassenauer and Tony Poer. Welcome to you two. I know we've
Yeah,
been
thank
talking
you.
about this for a while, and we're excited to have you on. Of course, my counterpart, Scott McIntyre, and looks like he's head in the clouds in the mountains in Colorado there, but I think he's permanently at least on the LinkedIn Live here. But we're excited to have you both. And for the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about CX and some perspectives that you guys bring to the table and kind of your clients and your journey and all that fun stuff. And time is going to go really quick.
I
So
know. I know.
without further ado, I'd love to introduce you. So Tory Hassenauer, our channel lead, and Tony, and from the product side, welcome. And why don't you give a little bit of background, and if you would share, Tory, a little bit about where the CX journey and 8x8 and why you guys do what you do and what makes it fun, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, thanks you guys for having us on because this is really fun. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So I am Tory Hassenauer. I am a senior channel account manager supporting the Central region, and I get the luxury of supporting Infinite Green. They're amazing partners. So yeah, great relationship there. So when you talk about CX, and we were talking about this yesterday, a lot of customers today are just, they're on old legacy equipment and like, it just works, it's fine. But then when you start to peel back the covers and the layers, you'll see how they're so siloed, and it's very complex and complicated. And so when it comes to CX and working with a company like Infinite Green, you come in and you can really identify where they can get rid of those silos and make it more simplistic and make a better customer experience. And that's where 8x8 comes in as well. So we have one platform offering that customer experience, whether it's unified communication with video messaging, SMS, and voice, as well as contact center and CPaaS all in one platform, making it really easy to use for the end user as well as their customers. So that's another thing to really think about is how are you staying competitive if you're on legacy old equipment? How are you offering that customer experience to not only your employees, but also to your customers as well?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tony, how about a little background from you? Thanks, Tory. And I have Scott and I have a couple questions for you that we'll jump into after that.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Tony Poer. I run our channel CX programs here at 8x8, which means I work with our partners to understand how our products fit into the overall solution set, and just speaking all things CX pretty much all day long. To kind of add on to what Tory's saying, one of the biggest things that we're seeing in the CX space is just the idea that more and more of your customer interactions are happening outside of the contact center, right? So I think traditionally we've thought, hey, there's a contact center, that's where they handle everything. But like half of your customer interactions, and ultimately some of the most valuable customer interactions, they're happening outside of your contact center. So if you're not factoring that in, and if you're not giving everybody the same tools so that they can access customer information, provide the right insights, give them the empowerment to create solutions. If you're not giving everybody an equal playing field, you're really, really hindering some of those interactions, especially the ones that are happening like with your accounting team or your sales team, like the ones that are outside of the actual contact center. Those are incredibly valuable, and a lot of times are overlooked.
Yeah, that's great. One thing, that we're all kind of, I think, challenged with right now, and I'd love your perspective on this, is, there's a ton of AI marketing splash going on. Yeah. And how's 8x8, or how are you guys really kind of embracing AI, but making it more simple and easier to consume and easier to leverage your platform for that?
Great question. So first and foremost, AI is part of everything that we do, right? It's infused into the product. It's part of the DNA. And I think there are probably a lot of players in our space where that's the case, right? AI is a big piece of what the platform is doing. So that's one component of it. The second component, when we talk about just AI, there's also the product AI that we're selling to our end user, right? The ability to have like chatbots voice bots, customer health scoring. So there's productized AI, and then there's the AI that's just kind of inherently baked into our platform that makes it more efficient. And then there's actually a third answer to that question, which is there's the stuff that 8x8 is doing with AI internally to make our sales teams and our product teams more effective. So there's a lot that we're doing from that standpoint. I think when we talk about AI, at least when you talk about the marketing splash, we're usually talking about productized AI, things like chatbots, voice bots, those types of tools that are out in the market that are certainly getting a lot of attention from a funding standpoint, from a marketing standpoint. What we have to do, and a big piece of my job and what Tory does, and I imagine Scott and John, what you guys do a lot too, is figure out, okay, just because you say, hey, I want AI, what does that actually translate into, right? The easiest way to get through the marketing splash is, frankly, to kind of ignore what they say they're going to do and focus more on what your customer problems are, right? Because there's a million AI products out there, right? And they're being funded by Silicon Valley and angel investors. They're getting like trillions of dollars of investment into the AI landscape. And if you get caught up in, oh, I need this feature and this feature and this feature, you're going to be spending a lot of time evaluating things that may or may not be a fit for your business. What we found, the best way to cut through the hype, especially if you're an end user, work with a company like Infinite Green, work with an advisor, right? Figure out what are my problems that I'm trying to solve. And then a company like 8x8 can say, hey, we've got an AI solution that specifically addresses how you might mitigate agent attrition. We've got an AI solution that might specifically address how we can coach people more effectively, or how we can more effectively communicate with our customers. But until we know what your problem is, it's really, really hard to prescribe a solution.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the solutions span, if you think about AI on the kind of the extreme one side of where customers want to design solutions, to the other side of that, which is they're still coming off of premise-based and analog systems.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There is a full spectrum of customer needs, from, how do I connect my security systems? How do I connect my paging systems? All the way up to how do I automate my customer interactions? How do I keep my agents happy? How do I keep them informed on what to tell customers and how to interact with customers? So I think, this concept of a single platform to be able to do that is a huge benefit for companies that have had interconnected solutions for the last 20, 30 years. And all of a sudden, here's this platform that can promise, analog to digital type of stuff, all the way out to AI solutions in a single interface. Tony, can you talk a little bit about kind of that value prop that 8x8 has?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, talking about the customer experience side of it, but 8x8's value prop in general is that we are a provider that we don't look at ourselves as just being a UCaaS provider or a CCaaS provider or a CPaaS provider, even though we have all of those capabilities, right? We provide voice, digital, SMS interactions, interaction routing, collaboration. We provide all the capabilities that a company is going to need. In fact, I try to throw acronyms like UCaaS and CCaaS out the window, because that creates this artificial silo between the contact center and the rest of the group. And that doesn't really exist, right? So the challenge, I think, is recognizing that you want to be able to give capabilities to any user in the entire organization at any given time. And if you've got a separate CCaaS platform, a separate UCaaS platform, a separate CPaaS platform, those are all siloed and fragmented. Our approach is we're going to be the core engine. Our customers, their needs are going to be more or less the same for the next probably 5 to 10 years. And what I mean by that is they're going to need voice, they're going to need video, collaboration, interaction routing, and all of the APIs that can tie it together, right? What they use on the endpoints, whether that's an AI solution, whether it's WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, whether it's web chat, whether it's some medium that we haven't even invented yet, those kind of fringe cases, the way that they connect, those are going to change, but the core needs are going to be really, really consistent. Our mindset is let's build that core engine and let's connect to the appropriate external solutions that might be rapidly changing and evolving. Like you look at the conversational AI landscape, that is evolving rapidly. If you look at the 2024 Magic Quadrant and the 2025 Magic Quadrant, some of the companies that are in the 24 quadrant don't even exist anymore. Some of them have been bought. It's a really rapidly consolidating landscape. We want to build the engine that can communicate with whatever whatever the new technologies are on the outside. Like bring in the best of breed chat vendor, bring in your best of breed, bot vendor. You're still going to need to have a way to manage those interactions and make sure that we give the communication tools to the right people. If you don't have a vendor that's got unified voice, video, collab, CPaaS all on the same platform, it means you've got fragmented systems, and it's going to make your life more difficult when you try to integrate, when you build third-party integrations, when you are trying to solve problems. If you've got multiple solutions, it just makes things more clunky.
Awesome.
The nice thing too, a lot of we call them technology ecosystem partners, are on 8x8 paper. So
True.
the customers are getting one bill. They have one number, 1-800 number to call for support. It just makes it super easy for our customers that we're offering them the best solutions out there, running off the world best ecosystem that 8x8 offers.
Yeah, I love that. I think, the breadth of your license structure and kind of those things, I think really is a testament to, hey, I'm at this point in the journey and I need to bump up a little bit or bump down in a little bit because we're doing a couple of different things. I love that about your pricing and kind of your product structure. And but one of the things, Tory, you touched on a little bit with the partner ecosystem and the channel, this interesting evolving of the partner technology channel ecosystem and the clients. How are you seeing some of this AI, and you were sharing about this before we jumped on, about some of your marketing, 8x8's marketing process. What are some fun things that you're seeing too? Because all of this has been so business driven, right?
Yeah.
But there's some fun and some really good development, and I think stretching the boundaries of how people are thinking forward about AI that I'd love for you to share a little bit about what your marketing team is doing to make it a little bit more fun.
I'll share a little bit, and then I'll let Tony share too.
Cool.
We've done some rebranding with 8x8. So our marketing team it's innovative what they've done, but we've taken some of our top customers and then asked them, what is your superhero, your superpower that you want to be? And one was, I want to be in the circus and be a lion tamer. So they've taken AI and taken this persona of one of our customers and made him a lion tamer. Or another one where the customer's talking about their experience with 8x8, and then they're shooting out of a cannon or swimming with sharks. And it's
Awesome.
all about, at the end of the day, we want to make our customers superheroes because they're the ones that are reliable for the decision that they've made to go with 8x8. So we want to make sure that their companies recognize them as superheroes for making that choice at the end of the day.
I think that's so important, that we're starting to think a little bit more creatively within this AI bubble.
I know, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. And for those of us that have had Google phones or I have a Google phone, and they really dabbled with, hey, infuse your phone, experience on your camera with, an AI character, and you can interact with it and everything. And, I think people thought that was a little bit, fun, but not really practical. But when you get right down to it, with a lot of video that's coming on, and Tony, I know how you guys are evolving the platform to do a lot more, to your point, not necessarily contact center related or call center related, but think about us being on this particular environment right now. If I couldn't look into your eyes, it would be a different experience. We'd still get through it. We could talk through it, but having the ability, and you've got a background, a different background. Scott's got a background. Tony and I have our backgrounds.
You guys have real ones.
Yeah. And it becomes part of, the whole consumption of AI. And I think for those that don't necessarily know how to define AI or automation or anything in between, I think it's good to bring in a little bit of the levity and some of the creativeness, because that's going to be a part of the future of how AI goes. And Tony, love your thoughts on that too with 8x8.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to unpack there, because we talk about it's got some very, very specific business applications, but you can also have a lot of fun with it.
Right.
When we think about where it's going to go in the future and what it's going to mean for us, again, we look at it as, all right, what does that mean for the product? And then what does that mean for how we're going to use it ourselves? From a product standpoint, there's obviously a lot of really cool stuff that we can do. And one of the biggest pieces, when you think about applying AI and using AI to gain insights about your organization. If you're only applying your AI insights to one piece of that puzzle, you're getting pretty limited insights. So in other words, if you go out and you've got a contact center vendor, and that contact center vendor says, use our AI, we've got the best AI, which is, by the way, if any contact center, like a legacy CX vendor, says that they have the best AI, that's your red flag. It's a BS flag, because they don't. If a contact center vendor says, hey, we've got this AI and we're going to give you all these insights, remember that only about half of your customer interactions are coming through that CX platform. Right? So if you're gaining insight, if you're trying to build your insights around your customer experience and you're looking at this siloed, segmented data, I don't care how good it is. If you're missing half of your interactions, you're missing a lot of insight. On top of that, think about the typical interaction that goes into a contact center, right? Like the last time, not just everybody on the webinar here, but like you guys in the audience too. Think about the last interaction you had with a business. When you called in or chatted in or whatever it is you did, and you actually talked to a contact center, it was probably kind of a basic question, right? Something along the lines of, what are your hours? Can I buy this color of widget? You called in because you couldn't find it online, or you chatted because you couldn't find it, but it was probably a basic question. That's what a lot of the interactions in the contact center are like. The ones that go outside of the contact center, right? That means things have either gone fundamentally really, really well or really, really badly, because you've escalated outside the contact center. Now you're talking to somebody in the billing department, or you're talking to an engineer about some hardcore problem. Those interactions, the ones where things have either gone really, really well, or let's face it, probably really, really badly if you're escalating, those interactions are way more valuable. The insights from those interactions are going to provide so much more insight than the 50 people that called in trying to figure out what time you guys closed today, right? Honestly, some of that data is useless, other than I know I've got a lot of people asking about it. But if I've got this really high value interaction with a high value customer that's mad, those are the insights that I should care about. So if I'm applying insights, if I'm going to put that, that ring around my company and try to gather the insights for the entire company, you need to make it a holistic set of insights. Yeah. So when we talk about how we're going to use it, one of the biggest things is the scalability of where we're getting that data from and using our data. And internally, we've actually got as an 8x8 seller / employee, we've got internal coaching that's happening on, all right, how can we format our data more appropriately so that we can get our own insights? How can we appropriately query ChatGPT to get the data or the outputs that we want? So we're training ourselves to use the tools based on the insights that we're gaining. But it's if you look at it as just, I'm going to put it on this one very specific tiny CX problem, you're probably not going to get a whole lot.
Yeah, Tony, that's a great point, because we're always coaching companies on what is the CRM equivalent to the CX system, right? It could be Salesforce, could be ServiceNow, could be Freshdesk. The sales team might have Salesforce. The internal help desk team might have ServiceNow. A couple of different customer service groups have let's say they have Freshservice or HubSpot or something, right? So you've got these varied places that you capture insights. So I do see that as the CX system that supports all of those, right? That kind of insights reporting shifting from what traditionally maybe was CRM based analysis, right, to a CX platform based analysis. Yeah. And I think companies are just scratching the surface on that. We haven't seen too many companies that have been able to consolidate that into a singular view or a singular set of insights across all customer segments, internal and external.
And that's what you bring up is a really, really challenging proposition for vendors like ourselves, right? Because the argument that I just made is our data, we're only as good as the data that we have access to, which in our case is, the voice and the CX platform and all the CPaaS pieces. That being said, and I also happen to know that we're not the only company that's doing this, but there is the concept of a data lake, or we're calling it the customer data platform. But it essentially is taking all the insights that we're getting from the 8x8 CX platform. If you're part of our ecosystem, like Tory mentioned, our technology ecosystem partners, those ecosystem partners, they're sold on our paper, they're integrated, but it's more than just a business relationship. We've actually got it to where we're importing the data, sharing that data in our CIDP, the data lake, and being able to apply the AI insights at that level. So you're getting it at the platform level from 8x8, plus all your CRM data, as well as in the future, the ability to import other sources of data, the ERPs, billing systems, things like that, that might be abstract and segregated today. Once you can get that holistic view, that's when you really start cooking with providing insights.
Yeah, and I think that's, it used to be a technical barrier, right? So John and I were in the business, running operations. We couldn't get access to that data. It was segmented. There was a technical barrier. But these days, it's not a technical barrier; it's an organizational barrier.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to share my data, or you stay in your lane. Those kinds of conversations. We see that a lot. But I do see there is an organizational design need that mirrors the CX design need, if you will.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And to take full advantage of it, companies have to look at both sides. And I think that's what we see day to day. It's less of a technical barrier and more of an organizational barrier to take advantage of it.
Yeah. But if you're having the conversation, right? If you're an organization that's saying, how can we use AI to make ourselves better? That's the first step, right? That's the first step to get past that organizational barriers, figuring out what is our strategy, what's our policy going to be, and what do we think we want to accomplish. But it goes back to what Tory and I were saying earlier. If you don't have a specific problem to solve, if you're trying to figure out where you can leverage IT without identifying what problems you want it to solve, you're going to be listening to a lot of sales pitches.
Yeah.
A lot of product out there.
Yeah, you really have to figure out what is the outcome that they're looking for, and then reverse back to what is the actual solution that we can provide.
And that, I think, Tory, you work with Scott and John and the team at Infinite.
Yeah, they're great.
Right? And I think that's where there's a ton of value in, obviously, I'll be perfectly transparent. I want to sell as much 8x8 as possible, right? But where there's a lot of value is in our customers working with partners and advisors like Infinite Green, because they know your business. They know, they can have the hands-on experience and then bring in experts like us to help, fill in some of the technical gaps. But Tory's managed that relationship for a long time.
Yeah, no, they're both John and Scott and the whole team. They're awesome. They'll go in and really sit down with a customer and uncover exactly what that customer should be doing to help improve their business and to help them stay competitive in this competitive landscape. I mean, you've got to be able to offer self-serve capabilities. You have to really identify what are their customers looking for? How do you stay ahead of the competition? And I think that's what Infinite Green really does, is you guys sit down with them and really help them to stay viable and really improve the way that they go to bit.
Yeah, I think thank you for that. I think that's a big part of our engagement strategy, is to come in not necessarily with a pure whiteboard, but really to take the things that, become really a value asset for the client, leverage that, but also extend it out into the forward and going, hey, what kind of a destination experience are you really looking for? And if we can get the operators that we typically work with, or the IT groups that we're working with, to try to translate that between business and IT and back and forth, if we can get people to look ahead outside of the 5 feet in front of their nose, because everyone's really focused on delivering, it really starts to extend how your platform and platforms like yours can be used longer term. And one of the things that we, not that this is an advertisement for Infinite Green, but one of the things that in our 16 years, we've had less than a 10% churn rate on technology over 16 years. So because I think we spend the time to make sure, hey, what is it that you're really looking at doing from a long-term perspective? And then, Tory, to your point, level back into what are some short-term things that we can do to create some momentum? How do we leverage the marketing splash of AI and some of the things that they can define a little bit better? Tony, you were mentioning that. Like, let's make sure we're defining it and getting a common language across the company so that everyone can write themselves into that story. And then when you go for funding for platform enhancements or to change out something into a better capability, those conversations are already value added versus, hey, let's justify this and talk about, what's the balance between investing in our own platforms and our own self versus spending some money in marketing for new customers. And I think we all know the answer is, if you can retain the customers you have and the employees that you have, it's much cheaper than if you try to go after all new all the time.
For sure.
And I do think that that's been, a lot of our journey with you for sure. We cut our teeth on a couple of platforms, and you guys, I think, were the second one we ever did. And we've done 135 or 140 different UCaaS and CCaaS platforms. So we've gotten really intimate with you and your journey. And Tory, I know you've been on the road a lot lately, the Road Warrior,
Yes.
with a couple of other, mutual partners. What are some things out in the industry that people are asking about or still have questions about? And sorry to put you on the spot, but
No, it's good.
what are people talking about that, outside of our own world? Like, we eat our own dog food every day, but what's everyone else talking about? And are the problems the same, or are they materially different?
I feel like they're very, very similar. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of legacy customers are still on like old equipment. And it's just getting them to migrate into the latest technology and take advantage of all the great tools that are available to them. And I think AI is always, of course, a big topic of conversation. And we use it every day. So we have AI built into our 8x8 Work app, which is our desktop app. You can go in and have it customize all your messages for you. We have it in our video where it summarizes the entire video conversation for you, and it tells you what your action items are. So AI really does help every day. It helps you with the way that you do your business. You use it, whether you know it or not, you're probably using some sort of AI. So it definitely is a topic of conversation. And I think a lot of customers struggle with what do we do to stay relevant today? And that's where partners like you guys really help.
Yeah, we do a lot of coaching in the space of, a lot of companies, when they implement a new capability like yours, they'll say, okay, this is the design we want. Let's go do it. And then let's let it sit there. We're like, well, you can actually change it again if you want to. It's like, well, what? It's like, the interfaces are there that allow business users to design and adapt to their changing customer needs pretty quickly. And I think that's a huge benefit companies don't take advantage of. They think they have to have like this stability in terms of experience, and their customers just want, let's say you launch a new product, right? And that new product's not represented in the experience that you've designed. Being able to adapt to that quickly and have business users just go ahead and make changes. I don't think businesses take advantage of that enough.
Yeah.
We're in the mode of, I kind of set it and forget it instead of set it and change it. Right.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about that, Scott, and you brought up organizational kind of constructs or barriers in the past. I think there's a new department that's being created without us really, knowing it, or with knowing it, and just because it's somewhere between business and IT. And CX and AI is not a project. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You have to be able to care and feed and tune as you go. And I think the intimacy of getting into the platform, and again, with platforms like 8x8, it's very easy. I've implemented 8x8 for a company in Seattle, a retail company, and had to get in the middle of, the functional design and making sure logically it worked and everything. But seeing the client take over and go, oh, here's what we could do with this, because they were much more intimate with their business and where they wanted to go at individual levels. But the ease of being able to jump into your platform and go, I'm going to test and try this experience on this side.
Yeah.
Because I really want to do something different, but I don't want to change it all yet until I prove it, is something that I think you really have a differentiator in your platform and platforms that are more flexible. Tony, maybe you could talk a little bit more about kind of your perspective on the flexibility and how much you want your clients to engage with the platform versus just get the benefit out of it.
Yeah, I mean, so we've designed the platform to be incredibly flexible. Like that was the mindset. We know that the landscape, the tools that consumers are going to use, whether it's an AI chatbot or WhatsApp or whatever their preferred channel,
right,
that landscape is going to radically change over the next 5 to 10 years. And so we want to build a platform that was flexible enough to provide those legacy services that you need but also be flexible enough to integrate with whatever new is coming down the pipe. And the reason that that's so critical, John, is, and I'll cite a pretty widely referenced an Amazon study that came out about a year ago. 70% of customers will leave a brand after one bad experience.
Yep.
Right? So you've got one shot.
Right.
And if you're thinking that your customer experience is segregated to your contact center platform, I would implore you to call the team at Infinite Green because there's so much more that's happening outside of that space, right? You need to be adaptable and flexible. And if your only channel is voice, I can tell you right now that I personally am not interested in being a customer of yours. That is not, I don't want, if you make me pick up the phone, I'm out.
Yeah.
That you lost your one opportunity to make me happy.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
Yeah. Well, we are at time. So believe it or
thanks,
not,
you
how
guys.
fun
This was
that?
so fun.
Yeah. And Tory, it didn't hurt at all, right? Like, this is pretty easy.
Yeah,
It's
it
kind
was
of
very
fun to
easy.
talk about the things that really we're passionate about, but affect us day in and day out. And one thing I want to let everyone know in the audience, if you want to talk a little bit more or get more information, 8x8's information is in the LinkedIn Live. We've got our QR code up here where you could get in touch with us and set up some time. We love to talk about this stuff. We don't treat customers like, oh, you're just like this company, so let's go do that with you. Everyone has kind of a unique appetite for change and for investment and speed and all those things. So consider yourself, someone that, hey, if you want more information and just want to learn a little bit more or a lot more about what we've been talking about, please reach out. We can get you in touch with 8x8 and vice versa. But we'd love to see you on the journey and getting off the bench if you're still waiting to try to figure out what you want to do. It's not that hard to dip your toe in the water, but it's certainly much better when you have partners like 8x8, and hopefully the experience with Infinite Green and 8x8 would be a winning combination for you too. But we want to thank everybody. Tory, Tony, thanks so much for joining us and spending time. And Scott, take us away. Thanks again for everybody joining us, and we'll be in touch. And here's to a great partner perspective.
Yep. Thank you.